What's up guys, it's Drac, and this is the Zinc. The Zinc is a brand new 3D printed pistol for nerfing hobbies specifically, for more of a competitive aspect of the Nerf hobbies. And given its compact design, it's perfect for either joining MI6 or doing what I think we're gonna have to start calling blaster tag as a hobby. I think that that's the best name for competitive foam flinging these days. We've done a lot of talking about it in a few polls, and that's just where we're at. But back to the Zinc. The Zinc is a fully 3D printed pistol. It's got a massive amount of plunger volume, and the plunger volume actually is the slide. That's not a joke. Like literally, the slide is the plunger. Pretty cool. Now, the entire pistol being 3D printed required a decent amount of supports and a lot of tweaking and tinkering, and that's because this blaster comes to us directly from 118 Design, aka Autosidearm on the Discord, and this is his pretty original design. It uses a lot of features that are similar in the links in how it does a turnaround plunger system to deliver air through the plunger up top into a barrel below. I think that that's a pretty brilliant way to kind of stack the two. We used to call those double rainbows back in the day, but this is a pretty interesting sort of way to make this very, very compact, very small, and get this sort of, I mean, very similar to polymer-esque frame handgun sort of shape. And that's great for ergonomics. And trust me, I get the ergonomics of a solid framed handgun design, but it is just worth noting that depending upon what color you print these in, and again, you get to choose the color that you print them in because they're only sold as a hardware kit, but depending upon what color you print them in, how you play, whether it's in public, in a closed field, etc., is going to really determine how you should be brandishing this thing. Something with this profile, particularly at night, just has no place on a college campus. I do not want to see these at HVZ events that I'm attending, etc., and so forth. This is very much designed for the competitive, fast flinging foam variety sort of games that we've developed, and possibly for super stock, depending upon your environment and of course your group admins. I think that it's a really cool design. I love the ergonomics of it, but it was designed to be printed exclusively in PETG. Now that in and of itself is kind of a hot button topic. Some people think that blasters should be printed only in PETG or ABS or some of these, you know, higher temperature thermoplastics, whereas the rest of us seem to have been getting just fine with our PLA. There are some incredible designs that are designed around PLA, and in fact, some of the most ubiquitous blaster designers in the hobby design using PLA for prototyping and then take it into production, self-included. So I'm a big fan of PLA. This one was designed with PETG in mind. Part of that is just the sheer forces involved in a blaster like this with this much going on is, well, you know, it's a lot. Now I'll hop off my soapbox and say that I know guys who have printed theirs in PLA and they seem to be going just fine. I took the user manual to heart and I did print mine entirely in PETG. I used my favorite kind of PETG, which is Prusament PETG. This is Prusament Orange for my bits, Carmine Red, which was a filament that I got to prototype test, which was very, very exciting, a terrific honor, and then Galaxy Black PETG, which they also have in a PLA. So if you like the Galaxy Black, I know that Luke uses a bunch of it. I did that. And then this is actually just grip tape that you cut out. It comes in the hardware kit. That hardware kit does set you back $75. That's $75 for a hardware kit, which tells you kind of the arena that you need to be in to build one of these already. Most hardware kits tend to be around $40, $50. This one is pretty substantial for a blaster that has no machined parts, as far as I can tell, and is just a hardware kit. Now there's a lot going on. You've got guide rails here. You have a plunger guide. You get a spring. You get all of the springs you need to make the magazines, which by the way are proprietary. You have to use Zinc magazines with your Zinc. You cannot use Talons. They won't fit. You cannot use other 3D printed magazines that happen to be either katana or Talon or hybrid geometry. It's got to be these ultra thin boys. They're almost closed bolt system up top. They definitely encapsulate the darts very, very nicely, very well. They also have a dart stop built into them so that you can't chamber on an empty round. It'll stop the slide moving forward. Now, the seal on mine is pretty okay. It's not the best I've ever done. You guys can see here if I plug it, it slows down and it's pretty decent. I think that mine's performing about as good as you can expect without going absolutely bonkers on the spring load. This guy is currently rocking a 788, which will get you FPS that I'll show you towards the end of the video. Again, overall ergonomics for this guy are awesome. It definitely feels like you're slinging something between the overall weight of it and the profile of the grip, and admittedly the grip tape definitely helps. It feels like you're shooting some sort of 45 ACP in single stack. I don't want to beat around the bush. That's exactly what this ergonomically kind of feels like. It's definitely a very real steel inspired design. I don't know if he took a specific firearm and based it off of that, but I think that it achieves that very, very nicely. Now, I do want to fire it for you. I also just want to show you that funky priming action. This is the catch. The trigger is down here. It connects to a sleeve that goes all the way over the barrel, and then there's a dedicated spring for the trigger that actually goes over the barrel. It's just a very, very intuitive design with all aspects of it pointing towards how they could maximize this space, this form factor. Now, these are quite nice. The magazine release is, of course, built into the trigger guard here. If you come down like this, this is all filing and tuning. I'll get to that later on. And that means that a lot of the interactions here between the different moving bits, both the trigger and the magazine release, is going to require a lot of filing, a lot of tuning, and you're just going to kind of have to know what you're doing. This should not be your first build of a 3D printed Nerf blaster by any stretch of the imagination. I think that everybody should start with a Springer because Springers tend to be easier to tune and file, but the tolerances on this are so tight, and PETG in particular is very unforgiving of that. So I just want to point out that if you're new to 3D printing, if you're new to building 3D printed blasters, to get a smooth gravity drop operation like this that catches and drops, and I want to point out, I'm not perfect. Like putting this in, this one takes a little bit of finagling to get that in there. This is, of course, the extended magazine. Each hardware kit's going to come with enough magazine-esque springs to make either one long, two shorts, two longs, or four shorts. And that's it. Each one of the shorts holds about 6, and the amount of filing that it requires to get the inside of this PETG smooth enough that this works smoothly beyond the 6 that you could do here is a lot of work. So if I could do it over again, I would make exclusively 6-rounders because I think that they're quite nice. But to get everything smooth, you're going to need a set of files. You're also going to need to really dial in your printer settings. I think, and I suspect, because I've been talking to a lot of other people who are working on their Zincs or have completed their Zincs, I suspect that Autosidearm's particular printer, and he printed on a Prusa Mark III, which is the same thing that I use, I think that his tolerances on his printer are just a little bit off because he says that everything should be super duper tight. And out of the 4-5 people that I've talked to that are also working on Zincs, everybody universally agrees that the tolerances are too tight and that a lot of it needs to be loosened up a little bit. There is a lot of material removal and reduction to get this thing into the shape where it works and fires smoothly. And it does. Once it's working, it is a really, really cool piece. Like, incredibly unique, very beautiful because you get to pick your own PETG filaments, and that gives you translucencies and different glitter options that just aren't available in PLA. The overall ergonomics of it, again, are just phenomenal for what it is. It has features that I've never seen before, whereas in most blasters, you're responsible for seating things properly. In the Zinc up here, there are magnets recessed into the prints that you seat so that when you're pushing that reversal in like that, it clicks into place and the magnets kind of lock it in for a clean seating every single time. That in and of itself is pretty good. The massive amount of stabilizer bars in here really lend to an overall very, very sturdy, very smooth experience. And in all honesty, it looks very sci-fi futuristic with the plunger tube up top like this. Just a really, really cool blaster. With the 788 spring, I've seen a lot of people adding extra grip tape either to the back here so that they can grip it there, or the front here so that they can grip it there. I didn't find that necessary. I like my grip how it is, and so I just grabbed the whole thing and pull. I know that you could hook into here, but then you would have to avoid the magnets. Overall, I think that it's pretty smooth. We'll go ahead, throw one more in there, show you guys how chambering works. Fire. And while my color scheme certainly doesn't lend itself well to public parks and public play, I think that the overall cleanliness and smoothness of this design is very, very nice. I want to take it outside for you now and I want to shoot it, but my big disclaimers for you are, don't buy this as your first build. It's an expensive hardware kit for one thing, and it's a very challenging build. If I were ranking blasters by how difficult they are to build, right now I think that a Lynx would be down at the bottom. That would be like a 1 or a 2. A Caliburn's probably like a 3 or a 4. Depending upon how you're building and what you're doing. Electronic blasters tend to break that 5, where you've got like, you know, hummingbirds right there at like 5, 6-ish. This would definitely be like a 7, 8 kind of range. Like, this is incredibly, incredibly challenging. That said, once you've got it figured out, it is a really, really cool piece. The last thing that I want to do before we take it outside and give you chronograph numbers is I want to plug my personal web store. Again, you'll be able to buy the hardware kit for one of these if you have all of those things, if you're comfortable taking on a 7 or an 8, if you have, you know, PETG filament and a way to print it comfortably, and you're okay tuning and tweaking your tolerances so that you can get something like this. I also want to plug my personal web store and say that we have these super sweet Mark II leather holsters. We still have a few of them in stock. Then we also have the brand new Drac logo merch in stock. That's both in hoodies and in t-shirts. But the real reason that I bring it up is I want to show you a brief size comparison, because this is about it. And this is a pretty fair comparison, not only in terms of the size. I just wanted to talk briefly about how the Dartzone Pro Mark II costs about as much as the hardware kit for this. So the pistol in its entirety, with its speed loaders, with its holster, etc. and so forth, this runs you $80. I think that they're out of stock right now. We sell a full kit on Foam Pro Shop if you're still looking for a Mark II, but for $80 you get a pistol that's capable of FPS up to 150. I've seen people who have theirs lower for some reason. I don't know why, there's just a range, but it seems like everybody has at least 120, 130 FPS. Mine shot a little bit hot. I don't know what this is gonna shoot, but the overall size profile there is very, very similar. Now the Mark II sticks out a little bit further because its plunger sits in the back here and its barrel is directly in front of it. By virtue of having a massive plunger and a longer barrel, this should be able to achieve much better results. This also has removable magazines, which means that its grip is a little bit larger, and in all honesty, its overall ergonomic profile is a little bit more comfortable. However, the overall durability and comfort from the metal handle scales and the fact that this thing is just about bulletproof is a toss-up. It's really gonna be up to you which one you prefer. This one out of the box is $80 and delivers the hits. This one, on the other hand, is, I'm trying really hard not to use the word nightmare, but it is a lot of work to get this guy into a fully functioning order, and the prime is significantly heavier with the 788 spring than the DZP's prime. But I'm going to go ahead and take this guy outside, put it over the chronograph. I think that it is a very compact blaster. I think that you do have to get sort of used to it firing just lower than you think it's going to because of that lowered muzzle. But that's enough dawdling about, talking about the specs here. Let's take it outside, let's put it over the chronograph. Let's tell you our final thoughts. All right, so we're out here with the chronograph. I want to mention one last thing. Halfway into building mine, I got a revised file set, and that is one nice thing. It seems like Autosidearm is really up to date on their files. They're adapting. This was definitely the developer's edition. It was like, you know, if you wanted this now, if you wanted this new, if you wanted to try the cool new thing, then you could sort of suffer with him, so to speak. But it's not the final iteration. I'm sure he's going to keep tweaking it and making it better, but I just want you guys to know that you're signing on for effectively a prototype that you get to help with. This was a two-piece grip. I had printed half of the grip. I can't imagine not having a unibody grip because it's so much smoother than gluing pieces together. It's definitely much cleaner, even if it did waste an awful lot of material in supports. Let's go ahead and put a couple downrange here. 89. I feel like I was aiming too low because of the aforementioned barrel drop. There we go. 156 is, you know, I mean, super stock ready capabilities. Definitely performing a little bit better than my Mark II. 157, 156. And I mean, to be fair, pretty consistent there, floating between two digits. Now it did close, which tells me that there's one left in the chamber. Let's put a few down range over here. You guys can say hello to Jinx. What's up, JJ? Hey. Hey. Say, I'm feeling better, YouTube. Thanks for all of your well wishes. All right, so a few downrange. Again, that tree that I'm aiming for is just at the 100-foot mark. Let's see. And we came up just a little bit shy, but that's not the end of the world. We'll aim for our 80-foot tree with the the next magazine, and I think I only have 4 in this one, but fired a little low. That was better. And I can tell you that you're gonna wanna angle your shots just a little bit, either that or it takes a little bit more getting used to this lowered barrel under the plunger. However, if you start angling your shots, we finally hit our tree at 80 feet. It was a pretty comfortable shot, definitely competitive, Nerf ready. I would keep an eye on the 188 design, or the 118 design, hard to say. I would keep an eye on Autosidearm's website if this is something that you're interested in and see kind of where he takes the platform. I really like this turnaround design, letting us get more compact blasters, better form factors, etc. But again, like, just be careful if you're gonna use something like this in public. Maybe choose brighter colors than myself personally. I personally really like the red on black combination. It's definitely been my thing forever. I had the orange for safety and for certain legal purposes, but I know that if I was gonna build one of these to take to like a tournament being held in the public park or something along that lines, I would definitely go with something much, much, much brighter. Maybe orange is the primary color and then red as the secondary, with black being the trim. Just something a lot brighter. I think that it's hard to go wrong with, like, you know, pink, lilac, really neon it up as best you can. I think that one in yellow with black accents, because you do have black for the grip tape, would be a really cool Bumblebee-esque design in the future. I can't wait to see what else this guy comes up with. He kind of came out of nowhere with a very brilliant first delivery of a design. I'm super stoked with it. It was a bear to build. The tolerances are all off. A lot of people seem to be like kind of struggling with it right now, but I think that it can only get better from here, and I really, really do like the design. I think that his #1 complaint is that it doesn't take talons or angled talons or anything like that, and I honestly hardly think that that critique in particular is fair. I really like that the grip feels good, is comfortable like this, and I wouldn't sacrifice that for magazine compatibility. And you can't get it. Talons are large magazines. If you've ever had a grip-in blaster or a magazine-in grip blaster like that, they tend to be chungo boys. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this 3D printed design. I've got one more pistol very similar to this coming up on the channel real soon. I'm gonna be building live tonight on Twitch at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would love to have you guys come hang out with me over there. I'm just working on some stuff for the web store over on my workbench, but I will see you guys on the internet. Thank you so much for supporting the content. Thank you so much for checking out the web store. Thanks for supporting small creators like these guys. And I'm just super stoked to be in a hobby that's developing cool new stuff like this every single month. Thanks so much for watching. Blast on, Drac out.